She kissed the dog goodbye longer than she kissed me. That's what stuck in my head as her suitcase, pink, overstuffed, wheels wobbling like it was drunk, rolled away behind her. She didn't even glance back, just tossed a "love you" over her shoulder and slammed the car door. Girls' trip, she'd said. 3 nights in Miami. Just the girls. No boys, no drama, no husbands texting during spa appointments. That last line was aimed at me, by the way. I stood there barefoot on the porch, holding my coffee like it might explain something, and watched the Uber drive off. And I don't know why, but I waited. I stood there just waiting. Waiting for what? For the car to come back? For her to suddenly remember she forgot her charger? Her earrings? Me? It never turned around. The silence in the house after she left felt unnatural. Like something had been unplugged, but the appliance was still pretending to run. You ever walk into your kitchen and immediately know something's wrong? Not because of a sound, but because of the absence of one? That's what our marriage had turned into. A humming fridge that stopped humming. I wandered upstairs. Her closet door was still slightly open. That always bothered me. She never shut it. I closed it, then opened it again. Something was missing. 2 heels, not 4. She'd packed light, sure, but light enough to forget half her makeup, yet heavy enough to include the black stilettos I haven't seen since our anniversary 3 years ago. I went into the bathroom. Her toothbrush was gone. Gone. Not a spare. Not a travel one. Her actual toothbrush. Now maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm spiraling. Maybe years of walking on eggshells has finally cracked me wide open like a rotten egg. But something about that toothbrush broke the dam in my head. She wasn't planning on coming back. I walked into the kitchen, picked up my phone, and opened our shared location app. She hadn't disabled it yet. Big mistake. It showed her heading to the airport. So far, so good. Then something caught my eye. Under recent addresses on our iPad, which she forgot to log out of, was an Airbnb. In New Orleans. Not Miami. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even confront her. I just stared at that glowing screen like it had called me a fool to my face. Then I stood up, opened the junk drawer, and pulled out the spare keys to the storage unit I hadn't visited since my dad died. And that's when I decided. If she wanted to disappear for a few days, I'd make it permanent. By the time she came back, there wouldn't be a husband waiting. Just an empty house and the echo of her own choices. I didn't even pack right away. I just stood there in the kitchen, watching the sunlight slowly crawl across the tile like it was trying to escape too. The only sound in the house was the hum of the refrigerator, and even that felt like it was judging me. I sat at the table and stared at the Airbnb address on the screen. It wasn't even in downtown New Orleans. It was some artsy neighborhood, blocks from the French Quarter, with murals on the walls and bars open till 4 a.m. The listing said romantic loft for 2. I scrolled through the photos like a masochist. Freestanding bathtub. Skylights. A bedroom wall covered in fake ivy and neon signs that said, "Let's get lost." It made my stomach twist. This wasn't a girls' trip base camp. This was a couple's getaway spot. A secret love nest she booked under my nose while I was budgeting groceries and washing her hairbrush because she hated the clumps. So what did I do? Did I call her and explode? Did I send screenshots to her friends to catch her in the lie? Nope. I did something much quieter. Much colder. I stood up, walked to our bedroom, opened the closet, and started pulling out only my things. I didn't touch hers. Didn't even look at them. It was like I was packing in a crime scene. I was methodical. Focused. If I let myself stop to feel, I'd fall apart. I took the dog to my cousin's place. Milo wagged his tail the whole time, not knowing he might never see her again. I envied his innocence. I told my cousin it was just for a few days while I dealt with a leak at the apartment. Lie number 1. Then I drove to the storage unit and opened the door. The smell hit me instantly. Dust, old leather, and the cardboard box that still held my father's last tax files. Everything from my old life was here, stacked and ignored like my instincts over the last 6 months. And then came the final step. I called a moving service. Told them I needed everything out by Monday morning. My name only. Just the basics. No shared furniture. Nothing with her energy, as she'd once called our couch. They didn't ask questions. Just confirmed the time and gave me the estimate. I paid up front. Sunday night, I didn't sleep. I just sat in the empty house, drinking flat soda, listening to voicemails she left during the trip. All upbeat. All fake. "Babe, you'd hate this hotel room. It's so pink, haha. Anyway, we're heading to the spa now, miss you. I played it again. Heading to the spa. But the geotag from the Airbnb showed she was already checked in. She was lying so effortlessly. Like she'd done it 100 times before. Like I was just a tired, background character in the sitcom of her new life. So I left her something. Not a dramatic letter. No accusations. Just a printout of the Airbnb page, folded neatly on the counter, with the words, "Hope the beignets were worth it," written in red Sharpie. And then I turned off my phone. I didn't want to hear what she'd say when she got back. Not yet. But what I didn't know then was that I'd hear from someone else first, someone who had way more to lose than I ever did. It was 3:17 p.m. the next day when my phone lit up on the motel nightstand. I'd checked into a cheap place on the edge of town, one of those nameless little motels that smell like bleach and secrets. I hadn't told anyone where I was, not even my cousin. I needed space, quiet, and for the first time in years, I didn't need to explain my mood to anyone. But the call wasn't from Marla. That's what shocked me. It was from a number I didn't recognize. Area code from Louisiana. For a moment I thought, her new man? Some idiot trying to flex? I didn't answer. But the voicemail that followed? It shattered everything I thought I knew. Hey. I don't know how to say this. I'm Jeremy. I don't want trouble, I swear. But if you're the guy who was married to Marla, I think we need to talk. I sat up so fast I knocked over the bottle of water on the nightstand. I played the message again. His voice was shaking. Nervous. Not cocky. Not the voice of a guy bragging about stealing someone's wife. It sounded more like someone caught in a trap. I called back before I could overthink it. He answered on the first ring. Jesus. You called back. Okay. Look, I didn't know about you until 3 days ago. She told me she was divorced. She said you were her controlling ex, and that she had to sneak around because you'd make drama. I didn't even believe her at first, but then she showed me court documents. Fake ones, I think. I'm not proud of this, man. I feel sick. My head was pounding, but I stayed quiet. Let him talk. We're not together, okay? Not seriously. I met her last month through a mutual friend at a gallery opening. She was all charm and mystery, and I fell for it. I invited her to New Orleans thinking this was a fresh start for both of us. But then she started acting weird. Secretive. Her phone would blow up, and she'd go out on the balcony to whisper into it. She told me you were stalking her, but last night. He paused. Last night I woke up, and she was crying in the bathroom. Not quiet crying. The kind where you know it's guilt. I asked her if she was okay. She said, I messed everything up. I thought she meant us. But then she mumbled your name. That was the moment I knew. She didn't just lie to me. She lied to everyone. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just asked, so why are you calling me? He exhaled hard, like he'd been holding it in since the start. Because I found the printout. The Airbnb receipt. With your note. She tore it up, but I taped it back together. I figured, if you were smart enough to find out, maybe you deserve to know how far it goes. How far does it go? I asked. He was silent for a second. Then, there's more than one of me. I swear my heart stopped. She's been doing this in every city she visits. Not just me. Not just New Orleans. I found a burner phone in her bag when she was in the shower. I shouldn't have touched it, but curiosity got the better of me. Dozens of names. Photos. Hotel room selfies. Some of them time-stamped while she was still married to you. It's not just cheating, man. I think she's scamming people. My ears were ringing. This wasn't just betrayal. This was something much bigger. After I hung up with Jeremy, I just sat there in that pathetic motel room, staring at the popcorn ceiling like it might spell out some kind of answer. The air felt heavy, like the room knew something I didn't. I couldn't shake what he said. There's more than one of me. I'd spent the last year feeling crazy for doubting her. Now I was being told I hadn't even scratched the surface. My wife wasn't just cheating, she was orchestrating, strategizing, building a web of fake versions of herself in multiple cities. And I was the idiot vacuuming under the couch while she was out gathering men like trading cards. The next morning, I drove back to the house. It was technically still mine, my name on the lease, my credit on the utilities. She hadn't changed anything. She never thought I would leave. That was her biggest mistake. When I opened the door, the first thing I noticed was that the basil plant was dead. I'd left it on the counter as a kind of twisted joke, and now it sat there wilted, brown, and drooping like it knew it had been abandoned too. Poetic, I guess. I went straight to the closet. Her side was still full. Too full. As if she hadn't taken anything meaningful with her. She really thought she could cheat for 3 days, come back, and slide back into our life like nothing happened. But I wasn't here to dwell. I had a plan. I opened her jewelry box, not to steal anything, but because I remembered something odd. One time, months ago, she got a message while we were getting ready for dinner. Her phone lit up with a name I'd never seen before, just an initial and a city. She said it was her cousin's friend, someone who helped her with a bachelorette party itinerary. I didn't ask questions back then. I was too spineless to challenge her. But now I was digging. Inside the bottom drawer of the jewelry box, under the fake velvet lining, was a second phone. Black, scratched, no case. Dead. I charged it, fully expecting it to be locked. It wasn't. No passcode. The messages were. I don't even know how to describe it. Like she was running a business. Dozens of threads, all with men saved as initials and locations. T. Denver. S. Austin. J. Montreal. Most of them followed the same rhythm. Compliments. Flirtation. Escalation. Then stories. She spun whole lives. In some, she was a widow trying to start over. In others, she was a burnout nurse on sabbatical. Once, she claimed to be an ex-Mormon escaping her past. Every man thought he was the one saving her from something. And there were photos. Not explicit, but personal. Intentional. Her in a hoodie, coffee in hand, staring at the camera with tired eyes, like she wanted them to feel something. She was manufacturing intimacy. One photo at a time. She wasn't just cheating. She was collecting sympathy, building bonds, slowly extracting gifts, favors, sometimes even money. One guy in Kansas wired her $1,200 for rent after she told him a fake story about getting evicted. Another offered to fly her out to San Diego to get away from it all. It made me sick. I sat on the bed, surrounded by the life we'd shared, reading message after message like I was in a trance. I started screen recording everything. Dates, names, wire transfers. She had built a lie so complex, I was amazed it hadn't collapsed already. But then one name stood out. It wasn't a man. It was a woman, saved as M.NYC. And what I found in that thread made everything worse. Because Marla wasn't the only one running this game. She was working with someone. I opened the thread expecting another poor guy caught in her net. But instead, I found a woman, M.NYC. The messages between them didn't read like flirty banter. They were sharper, coded, transactional. The kind of messages you send when you don't want to be caught. Marla wasn't playing this game alone. The last message from Marla said, "He finally left. I'll send you the breakdown tonight. Keep your guy warm." What breakdown? What guy? I scrolled further, and that's when I saw it. A spreadsheet. Literally, a photo of a handwritten table with names, dollar amounts, and cities. And at the bottom, circled in red, Emory, full drain. No threat. Clean exit. No threat. She'd written me off like I was a box she'd already unpacked and thrown away. A non-threat. A finished con. I wasn't even part of the present, just the past. I stared at the word drain, like it might rewrite itself if I looked hard enough. Then came the message from M. It said, "Make sure he doesn't go public. We don't need another Arizona situation." Another Arizona situation. How many people had they done this to? And that's when my phone buzzed again, but not the burner. My real one. The number was blocked. I answered on instinct, still half in a daze, expecting silence. But the voice was low, controlled, and terrifyingly calm. "Mr. Emory, this is Detective Fallon, NYPD. I believe your name came up in connection with a financial fraud investigation involving a woman named Marla Crane. Are you available to speak?" I went cold. It didn't make sense. Me? Investigated? I hadn't done anything. I wasn't part of her scams. I was the one left in the wreckage. But the detective didn't sound like he was calling to accuse me. He sounded like someone who was finally piecing things together. I agreed to talk. Told him I had proof. Screenshots. Recordings. Bank transfers. Even the spreadsheet. He asked if I was in danger. I didn't know how to answer. Was I? I hung up and sat on the edge of the bed, my hands shaking. Everything I thought I knew about my wife was gone. This wasn't infidelity. This wasn't even manipulation. This was organized, structured, premeditated. I was living with a con artist. And based on the timeline in those texts, she'd been planning my exit for nearly a year. That explained everything. The coldness. The distance. The way she'd act annoyed when I did something nice, like pick up her favorite wine or fold the laundry without being asked. It wasn't that I was doing it wrong. It was that I was still there, still lingering, still clinging to something she already considered dead. But the real kicker? It wasn't over. Because at exactly 6:42 p.m., my phone lit up with a text from Marla herself. Just 3 words. You made noise. Those 3 words hit harder than any fight we'd ever had. You made noise. Not what did you find? Not can we talk? Just a cold acknowledgement that I'd stepped out of line. Like I'd broken some unwritten rule in her twisted little operation. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't want to. I had a dozen drafts typed out. Angry, sarcastic, even one where I just wrote, LMAO. But none of it felt satisfying. What do you even say to someone who lied to your face for years, stole your peace, and then had the audacity to act like you're the problem for noticing? Instead, I turned off the lights in the motel room, locked the door, and sat in the dark. My phone kept buzzing. Unknown numbers, blocked calls, even a fake Uber Eats notification that I never ordered. She was testing the lines, seeing what I would answer to. And then it went quiet. For hours. I thought maybe she'd backed off. Maybe she was scared now that I'd spoken to a detective. Maybe this whole web was starting to collapse under its own weight. But I was wrong. Because the silence wasn't retreat. It was calculation. At 2:08 a.m., a knock came at the door. Not loud. Just 2 short taps. Like whoever was on the other side already knew I was awake. I didn't move at first. Just listened. Nothing. No second knock. No footsteps. I crept to the peephole. No one. But as I started to step back, I noticed something on the floor. A flash drive. Someone had slid a black flash drive under the door, tucked inside a folded napkin from a diner I'd never been to. No note. No explanation. Just that. My heart was hammering as I picked it up, palms sweaty. I didn't even have a laptop. But I had my phone and an old USB adapter in my duffel from a previous work trip. I plugged it in, praying it wasn't some virus or trap. There were 3 video files, each one labeled with a date and city. Austin, Miami, Scottsdale. In each clip, Marla was there, but not alone. Not with men. With M, the woman from the texts. In the videos, they were laughing, plotting, pouring wine over a tablet screen as they read what looked like dating profiles and credit scores. The camera must have been hidden, maybe planted by one of the guys who figured them out too late. Then in the last clip, the one from Scottsdale, things got darker. Marla was sitting on a hotel bed, scrolling through her own husband's Instagram, my Instagram. She zoomed in on a photo of me and Milo, our dog, on the porch. She made a face like she just stepped in something foul. Then she said it. He doesn't even know I've already emptied half the account. Poor Emery. Honestly, I'm doing him a favor. He was built to be broken. That's when I stopped the video. I didn't need to hear more. Didn't want to. Because that's when something inside me snapped. Not in rage, not even in grief. In clarity. She thought I was built to be broken. But what she didn't know was that I had one thing left she couldn't touch, my story. And if she wanted silence, she was about to learn what real noise sounds like. I didn't go to sleep that night. I couldn't. Not after the videos. Not after hearing my wife talk about me like I was a problem she solved. A loose end she tied up. A joke. She said I was built to be broken. So I decided to show her what it looks like when something broken learns how to cut back. At 7:46 a.m., I walked into a small downtown office with a USB drive and a manila envelope filled with printed screenshots. Inside was a woman named Kelsey, an investigator from the state's Financial Crimes Division. I had emailed her once, attached nothing, told her I had sensitive information regarding identity manipulation and wire fraud involving a woman operating across state lines. She'd replied in under 10 minutes. When I showed her the files, she didn't even blink. It was like she'd seen this before, just not like this. Not this clean. Not this complete. Not this personal. You're the husband? She asked. I nodded. You sure you want to be involved in this part? She added. If you hand it over, we'll take it from here. But it won't stay quiet for long. I stared at the flash drive for a second. It was strange how all the years we spent building a life could be condensed into a piece of plastic smaller than my thumb. All that trust, all that love, all those holidays and inside jokes and shared playlists boiled down to 3 folders and a spreadsheet of lies. Yes, I said, I want to be involved in every part. And that's when things started to unravel fast. Within 24 hours, 2 of the men Marla had conned, Jeremy from New Orleans and another guy from Colorado, filed formal reports. One of them had already wired her over $3,000. Another claimed he'd flown her out twice and paid her credit card bills. The stories came like a flood. Some heartbreaking, some humiliating. I wasn't the only one who felt disposable. Then came the best part. I remembered something from way back, an app she'd asked me to help install on her old laptop. She wanted to mirror her phone, to back up photos, she'd said. What she didn't know was that I'd used the same email to activate it on my own cloud. I'd forgotten about it until I tried logging back in. And there it was. A sync backup. Messages. Notes. Even drafts she never sent. One of them was a document titled Exit Plan. It had everything. When she'd planned to leave me, how she'd transfer our joint savings in pieces, the new name she was using in other states, and, this is real, the name of the man she thought she'd end up with. Someone she called the Upgrade. He was married. I found his LinkedIn in 3 minutes. CEO of a mid-sized design firm in Chicago. Wife. 2 kids. The kind of man who would burn everything to the ground if the right text landed in the wrong hands. So I sent a message. Not to him. To her. All it said was, "How does his wife feel about being your next exit plan?" I didn't get a reply. But by noon, all her social accounts were deactivated. Her number stopped working. The Airbnb was canceled mid-booking. Jeremy called me and said she'd left New Orleans early. No goodbye, no refund, no forwarding address. She was running. But I wasn't chasing her. That was the final shift in my spine. I wasn't trying to get her back, or prove she was wrong, or even make her suffer. I just wanted one thing. To make sure she could never do it again. She broke me to pieces. I just made sure she couldn't build herself another foundation on someone else's name. And yet, right as I started to breathe again, a knock came at my motel door. But this time, it wasn't a stranger. The knock wasn't loud. It was cautious, hesitant, like whoever was on the other side wasn't sure if they should be there. I stood still for a moment, listening. Then I opened the door. Marla stood there, wearing the same sunglasses she left with. But she didn't look glamorous anymore. She looked tired, makeup smudged, hair pulled back. Her signature confidence drained out of her like the air from a dying balloon. She didn't speak at first, just stared at me. Finally, she asked, "Was it you?" I didn't answer. She stepped into the room without being invited, still assuming she had that right. She looked around like she didn't recognize the version of me that lived here. Like I'd become something she never planned for. "What did you do?" she said again, voice cracking. "You don't know what you've done." I stayed quiet. She kept talking, something about lawyers, about reputations, about how this wasn't supposed to happen like this. She said I'd embarrassed her, that I took things too far, that we could have handled this privately. Like her crimes were just bad manners. Like I'd crossed the line by not playing the quiet little husband one last time. But I wasn't listening to her words anymore. I was watching her face. And for the first time in years, I realized. I didn't feel anything. No rage. No heartbreak. Not even relief. Just silence. Peaceful, unfamiliar silence. I finally said, "You didn't just cheat on me, Marla. You tried to erase me. And the sickest part? You thought I wouldn't notice." She shook her head, eyes glassy. "You were never supposed to get involved." "I was your husband," I said. Involved was the default. She stepped closer, and for a moment I thought she might try to touch me. Apologize. Pretend. But I backed away. Not in anger, just out of clarity. I saw her for what she was now. And it wasn't my wife. "I don't hate you," I added. "That's what's killing you, isn't it?" She didn't respond. Just stood there hollow. "You wanted fireworks. A breakdown. Chaos. Because you feed off of messes, and you thought I'd be your last one. But I'm done playing in the wreckage." Then I handed her a folded envelope. Inside was the signed divorce agreement. No threats. No nasty notes. Just closure. "I'm walking away," I told her. "Clean. You don't get to follow me into my next life." She stood frozen, trying to keep her composure. But she couldn't. She left without saying another word. The door closed behind her. And just like that, it was over. I didn't move right away. Just listened to the quiet. I hadn't heard silence like that in years. Not the kind that's empty, but the kind that means no one's lying to you in the next room. A week later, I moved into a small apartment near a trailhead. Milo sleeps by the window. I started going on long walks. Bought real groceries. Got new socks. Started therapy. I even picked up my guitar again. And last night, for the first time in a very long time, I laughed. Not at a meme. Not to be polite. It just came out. On its own. Like my body remembered how. This isn't a story about revenge. It's about removal. About learning that sometimes the best way to win is to quietly rebuild a life someone thought they'd already destroyed. She never thought I'd walk away. But I did. And I never looked back.